Okay, it looks like we might be live here. Can people see me and hear me? Let's just get some feedback on that. This is March 14th, 2021, and um, this is the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club Fiddle Workshop. And so far, I'm not getting any feedback that says, "Oh, somebody says there you are." So at least one person sees me, and that's good. All right. Um, well, oh, good. There we get some feedback. Telling me. I appreciate that people tell me that you can see and hear. Um, oh, and my microphone I just noticed it's out of position. There we go. We are trying a new microphone position today because I got feedback last time about the sound quality, and we're looking to make it better. So hopefully that does happen. Well, today is March 14th. And for those who know the significance of 314, this is Pie Day. And no, the theme is not pies. I could only find 2 Scottish tunes that had to do with pies. We can play them today, but we are not going to play pie music today. Instead, I just baked a pie. And our theme today is actually music from the Scottish borders. And so this is an area of Scotland that I think gets a little bit underrated, especially by people who are not from Scotland. So visitors always think, oh, let's go to the Highlands and the Western Islands because they're so pretty, and we'll go to Edinburgh because it's really cool and historic, and Glasgow because it's got all this cultural stuff, and they kind of forget about the Scottish borders. But let me just show you a little map. Well, it's a big map. So here's our map of Scotland, and the region that I'm talking about is right here. This is the current border between England and Scotland. And this whole borders region is a culturally unique and interesting part of Scotland. It's also really scenic. It's got rolling hills covered with gorse, broom, heather, and a unique musical tradition that has a lot to do with small bellows blowing bagpipes, and just a unique repertoire of music that is characteristic of the border region. So we're focusing on the borders, and I'm going to start off by teaching you a song tune, because one of the things about the borders is that it has this grand tradition of songs and ballads. And I made sure to include some of those in today's music. This first one is one that I've known for a very, very long time. I first heard it when I was a kid. It's been sung by many, many different people, recorded by many, many different groups, and parodied. In fact, the first time I encountered it, it was a parody. It's called The Rolling Hills of the Borders. And of course, since I learned this when I was a kid, and it had, so many different versions, and, it had even been parodied, I assumed that it was a really old tune. It's not. So it turns out it was written by a guy named Matt McGinn. He was from Glasgow, but he spent a lot of time in the borders, and he wrote what's come to be almost like a borders anthem, The Rolling Hills of the Borders. I prepared some visual aids. So let's see if I was smart enough to photo the lyrics to this. Yes, here we go. So, The Rolling Hills of the Borders. Why don't I play it for you first so you've got the tune in your mind, and I'll tell you about the words, perhaps even sing a little bit of it. That's Chancy, asking me to sing. Instrumentalist here. But here's the tune. The Rolling Hills of the Borders. And the words are, when I die, bury me low, where I can hear the bonny Tweed flow, a sweeter place I never will know than the rolling hills of the Borders. And it goes on with several verses praising various aspects of the Borders. You know, traveled far and wide, never seen a place like the Borders. You know, there's a peace of mind that you'll find at the Borders, among the hills of the Borders. It is a lovely song, and I think you'll enjoy it. So it's in the key of D. Let's first of all make sure everybody's in tune. Here is your A. And so if you're not yet in tune, take this opportunity to tune. This tune, The Rolling Hills of the Borders, I have in the key of D. Since it's a song, you could translate it to any key that's comfortable for you to sing in. This one I actually transcribed directly from a singer, so at least one person can sing in this key of D. So we're in the key of D. There's no pickup note, and the tune starts directly on the note D. So find those notes, B, D. Next bit. So a little bit of a snap rhythm, which goes with the words, bury me low, bury. So da-dum, a D, B note to a D note there. And landing back on the D. Those first two phrases together. It's actually the first line of the verse. It's when yeah, can I sing in this key? When I die, bury me low. So let's play that a few times. How is that for people out there? There's a big delay between when I ask questions and when I start to get replies through the chat. If you're not signed in through a YouTube account, that makes it difficult for you to access the chat. So if you're catching this through a Zoom link from our Fiddle Club page, you can send messages, email messages that can, or even text messages that can get transmitted through my phone to me so that I can still respond to you. But best way is if you sign in through your YouTube account, subscribe to our channel, live chat. I see it a little bit later than I ask it. But sounds like we're decent with that first phrase. Let me just review it and then we'll move on. Next bit. So those are arpeggio notes. We're in the key of D, F sharp. So our rhythm here is 2 D notes and a long A. So that's where I can hear. And we're getting to the Bonnie Tweed next. Let me just find those lyrics again. Yeah. Where I can hear. Coming down, we're back to F sharp and then walking down the scale from there. And I'm going to change the rhythm because even though in our American dialect we might say the Bonnie Tweed flow, if you're Scottish, you're probably going to say Bonnie. That rhythm. Da-dum. The Bonnie Tweed flow. So if you want to sound a little more Scottish rather than having a different accent, I'm going to recommend this rhythm. So along with the words, and you can sing along at home, nobody's going to know that your singing voice isn't any better than mine. So, where I can hear the Bonnie Tweed flow. Next part. We have a pickup note of a very short E note for the word a. A sweeter sound I never did know. So we have a sweeter, an E pickup note, and an F sharp and B note. A sweeter sound. Next bit. I never did know. So putting that phrase together, a sweeter sound I never did know. And the last phrase, a snapping here, up to the high A. Coming down by arpeggio notes. A, F sharp, D. So it's a snap, arpeggio, the words are let me get my octave correct here. The rolling hills of the, and we need to add the borders to the end. Long E, long D. All right, so we have 4 phrases. This song uses the same melody for the verses and choruses, so there isn't another part to learn. We learned the entire set of music that we need. But it gets used for a chorus that I've just sung the chorus. And then it goes into a verse, which is the same melody, back to the chorus. So you can play this thing so that it has a chorus-like round where it's big and rousing, and then a verse-like round where it's a single singer or voice singing it, playing it. And so you can repeat this multiple times, say 4 times through for 2 verses, 2 choruses, or add an extra chorus at the end 5 times through. That's not too much for this type of tune. Let's put it all together. Messed up the words, but that's me. I'm an instrumentalist. You want the words right? Get yourself a real singer. So here we go. A few more times through so that we can practice it. If you know the words or you've looked them up, feel free to sing along. You're at home. Who's to know whether you sang it right or used the right words? Now, I want to play it a few more times through, but I wanted to give you a visual. I prepared some photos, and let me find, here we go. Here are some of the rolling hills of the borders, and that purple is heather. It's just gorgeous. I have been to this national park on the borders, and it's spectacular views, just like that. So, a few more times through the rolling hills of the border. All right. So that is the rolling hills of the border. I hope you enjoyed that song tune, that song air. You could use it as a waltz if you like. It's in 3/4 time. It would make a fine waltz if you'd like to play it that way. And I'm going to give you a few more borders classics this time. I mentioned that we have featured tunes from the Scottish borders before in Scottish Fiddle Club. In fact, there are a lot of tunes from the Scottish borders all over in our Fiddle Club music. The last time, though, that I specifically did a workshop themed around music from the Scottish borders was Book 7. 21 years ago. That's a long time. Oh, I've got Becky asking, what was the parody about? So the parody that I heard was The Rolling Hills of New Jersey, and it was singing praises of the petroleum refineries in Elizabeth and places like that. And it is the only song I know that featured the phrase "da lousy bums" as part of praise of New Jersey. So, there have probably been parodies about all kinds of things, but that one was funny. The original song is much more heartfelt rather than meant to be humorous, but I'm sure you could find some of these things if you look them up elsewhere on the web. So, one of the big, big, big classics of the Borders region is the Morpeth Rant. And now some of you may be saying, but Morpeth is on the English side of the border. Well, yes, it is. But one thing that you need to know about the Scottish Borders region is just how frequently that border has kind of shifted and changed. So for many, many, many centuries, England and Scotland were not the same country. And as a result, two things that are important in terms of knowing the history of this music. For one thing, various monarchs sent various armies in order to push the border more favorably in their direction. And so at times, Berwick upon Tweed, which is now in the north of England, was in Scotland. And that's true for various other places along the border. Also, while these places were separate countries, there is a phenomenon that is so significant in the history of this area that it deserves a little bit more attention. Unlike the lowlands, which was, focused around the royal court and, various lowland landholders who were, in the government, so to speak, or connected to the government, or the Highlands, which were kind of their own entity, or the Western Islands, which are, again, almost a sub-kingdom. and had their own identities. The borders area was pretty unruly. It was kind of controlled by big families who had their strong castles and made their living by raiding their neighbors. And because there was this international border there, they, in many cases, figured out ways to raid their neighbors and then evade the law by going over the border. So you've heard this phrase, over the border. This really has pertinence with this borders region, because the Grahams, the Maxwells, the Johnstons, the Armstrongs, the Kerrs, many other border family, strong border families would raid their neighbors, take the sheep, take the cattle, take the wool, take the goods, get over the border, and evade the law. And they get back to their own strong house and their own stronghold and essentially be untouchable. It was a big problem that didn't really resolve until James became king of both Scotland and England, and then he put a stop to it. So I'm going to get back to the tune, Morpeth Rant, and I'm going to show you this photo, which is a photo of the Morpeth Bagpipe Museum. Bagpipes are a big deal on the Scottish borders. It's the land of the bellows blown pipes, and there are different varieties that are played in the borders region. I'm not going to get too detailed about them, other than to say that our previous Fiddle Club workshop on the borders region back in book 7 is after we were visited by a borders piper came to visit us at the Virginia Scottish Games, and I went and had a good jam session with this man, and he told me lots and lots of things about border pipers past and present. It's super interesting. So Morpeth is on the English side of the border, and is, as you saw in the picture, there's a bagpipe museum there with lots of history of this music. The Morpeth Rant, I'm going to teach you what I would call a more widely circulated version of Morpeth Rant. And then also in our Fiddle Club, I have a particular version that's just a little different, and one that Matt Seattle, who's a really excellent scholar of this music, says it's a version that he took down from a particular older fiddler, and that it's connected about as closely as we can get to the oldest versions of Morpeth Rant that are on record. So here is, as I said, the more commonly circulated version. So let me teach you Morpeth Rant. It's also in the key of D, and our pickup note in this case is an A. So find that pickup note. And the first note of the first full bar is D. Now, before we get into it, I want to do a little bit of arpeggio practice in D and related keys, because this will serve you well in this tune. So key of D is the key of 2 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, arpeggio in the key of D is D, F sharp, A. You can play that in higher range. So you may need all of these notes. Now, closely related keys to the key of D. I said 2 sharps for the key of D. Let's look at the key of 1 sharp. The key of 1 sharp is the key of G. C is natural. F sharp. And arpeggio in the key of G, G, B, D. And so now we've had the key 1 sharp, G, our principal key here, 2 sharps, D. Another related key is 3 sharps, the key of A, C sharp, F sharp, G sharp. And arpeggio in the key of A. The rule for arpeggios is always the first note, third note, fifth note of the scale. A, C sharp, E. So it's good for you to learn these patterns. Being able to play scales in different keys, arpeggios in different keys, it never is a bad thing. It always serves you well in learning music. So let's now go back to our tune, Morpeth Rant. We're going to be making use of every one of those arpeggios I just showed you. What was the pickup note? A, very good, you remembered. A pickup note, our first note is D, and we're going to work our way into a series of arpeggios. Right there is just a little bit of scale, A, G, and then we're in arpeggio world. You recognize that one? F sharp, D, F sharp, A. So we're working the D arpeggio there. Let's play this bar put together. With that so far? All right, I'm going to move to the next bar where we're now going to make use of those 2 other arpeggios I showed you, the G arpeggio, A arpeggio. So first, the G arpeggio, we're going to start on the note B, go down to G, back to B, just like that. The A arpeggio, same pattern, moved 1 note up the scale. So the second bar of the piece, G arpeggio, A arpeggio. putting the two measures and the pickup note together. So we have our pickup note of A. Arpeggio D. And then G. And then A. So that's the opening sequence, and this is like a signature for the tune. If you start this way, this tune is Morpeth Rant. This is the signature element of this tune. So those same two bars again. And again. Again. How's that going so far? So far, so good? Ready for the next bit? So the next thing that we need to play is to continue on and finish our first 4-bar phrase. We've been leading upward with those arpeggios. And that takes us up into our higher range for the 3rd bar. So it's a bit of arpeggio. A scale from the note G going down. So. All right. So there we have almost the end of the phrase. We're leading to something, right? Some kind of resolution or semi-resolution. Here's what happens. So this is not the end. It's leaving you hanging, but it's more resolved than it could be. So we have a very definitive quarter note. Some could say, well, this is a typical end of phrase for a hornpipe. It's also a typical end of phrase for a rant. And a rant is a thing that's found on both sides of that border, but it's more particular to either Northern England or Scotland. There are lots and lots of rant tunes. There is, in fact, a dance step, a rant dance step. I'm not going to demonstrate it here because I actually don't have space. I'm right between a chair and a sofa and a music stand here. But a rant step is a particular kind of step. It's meant to be rhythmic, percussive, and to go with this type of tune. So while it sounds a little bit hornpipey, and yeah, you can use it as a hornpipe if you want, this is a rant rather than a hornpipe, just because of its history. All right, so back to the tune. We've got our last 2 bars of the phrase. The scale and the quarter note resolution. Let's play that again. Let's put it together with the beginning of the phrase. How did this tune start again? That pickup note was A. A, leading us into the series of arpeggios, leading us to this resolution with the scale down to the quarter notes. going? Is that starting to fall into place? I hope so. I'm going to move on, but here's the good news. This tune recycles, and the second phrase is nearly the same. There are a couple of little differences. In this particular version that I've selected for Fiddle Club, the ornamentation is built in. When I play that pickup note and go, I usually don't do it plain like I just did it there. I usually put an ornament in. Or, so this pickup note for the second phrase just builds the ornament in. Now you could attach the ornaments to the prior note. I like to attach them to the note that's coming up. You see how that's a little different than... You'll find it in the printed music looking like you should play it. But since it functions as a built-in ornament, I would probably phrase it this way. So, the first phrase, and then I'll take you to the second phrase. Same so far. Still the same. Here's the one thing that's new. So it's 3 bars exactly the same with a new quarter note resolution. So the first phrase resolved in the air. The second phrase resolves back on the home key. A, D, D. So let's play that phrase. This is just the second phrase. Still the second phrase. So the entire A part, that signature Morpeth Rant phrase, with or without that ornamented pickup. Your choice. It really doesn't matter which one you choose. I like the more decorated one. It's up to you. The first time you do that 4-bar phrase, it's semi-resolved, not permanently resolved. Second time you do it, land on the home key, you're there. So, first half of Morpeth Rant, the entire A part, 8 bars, with some repeats. it going? Somebody send me something in chat so that I know how you're doing with the tune, and hopefully you're ready to move on to the second part. I will shortly assume, even if I don't hear anything in the chat. So, second part. I told you arpeggios were important, and I made you practice 2 octaves of the D arpeggio because we're going to use it now. We use the lower octave down here in the beginning of the tune. We're now going to use the high octave. And the high octave puts us up here. Now, the pickup note for the B part is still the note A. It's the same. So it's that same pickup note. You can't go wrong using the A as a pickup note in this tune. It is always right. So, arpeggios in the high range. D, F sharp, A. So let's practice that. Okay, good arpeggios, right? You have that first bar down because it's just that arpeggio repeated twice. So we have a pickup note, A, and then 2 arpeggio figures. Excellent. Next bit. Scale. Any questions with that? Next figure. This section is very much a scale section. Pickup notes to the third bar are up the scale from the note E. Then we go down the scale from the note G. And here's the only note that's not in scale. We skip one. So we just went up, down from G. And instead of back to F sharp, we're going to jump up 1 note. There we go. That's the note, G. So we're skipping the F sharp on the way up the scale. So here's the third measure with its pickup notes. Again. For skipping that note is all to set up our semi-resolution, the 4-bar end of phrase. We want to set it up and go to the G here so that our next note can be F sharp. And this, instead of being 3 quarter notes, this is the only phrase ending in this version of Morpeth Rant, which is not 3 quarter notes. And it's what I would call a twiddle around the note F sharp. So it's kind of like the tune just needs to get to F sharp, but it has 3 beats to get there, and you're already there. So what are you going to do? You're going to mess around F sharp. So the bar before, and here we are at F sharp, and here we are again, and here we are again. So 3 times it lands on F sharp just by going F sharp and down and up, and then, okay, now we're good, we're here. So the whole point was to get to F sharp, but to spend 3 bars getting to F sharp. So our last 2 bars of this phrase, pickup notes are part of the scale. There you go. So that is the first 4 bars of the B part of Morpeth Rant. Let's put it together. The pickup note is A. You know that by now. I told you it never fails in this tune. The pickup note is A. And arpeggios up in the high range. Shifting to scales. Jump up. F sharp. And that is our not quite resolved 4-bar end of phrase. Still leaving you wanting more, right? So let's take that same phrase from the A pickup note through the end of the 4 bars where we twiddle around the F sharp. And again. And again. All right. Now, we're almost to the end of the tune, and this being a tune that makes good use of recycling, yep, we're going to recycle. Now, this is the only phrase that does not have an A pickup note. It's because we're up here, and so to get to from here, we're just walking down the scale. So the pickup note's here, just because it's inconvenient to go low to the A. So here we are twiddling around F sharp, and we just twiddle our way back down to D. End of phrase. Same arpeggios as before. Same scales. Still the same scale. And this is where we switch over to the dramatic final ending. It's not really that dramatic, but well, it's not that dramatic in this version of Morpeth Rant. In the other version that I have selected for us, it's quite dramatic. In fact, it's definitely the dramatic high point of the tune. But here, it's a little bit dramatic. And we just had a scale. And we jump up to the high A. So that we can land on D. So let's do just that ending. We're on a C sharp note. We jump to a high A. That's the last bar and a half. So I'm going to convert it into the last full bar with pickup notes. Let's do that. Okay, how is that going? I think it might be about time for us to put together the entire second half of this tune, the B part of Morpeth Rant. So, what's the pickup note? A! Yes, and this tune uses arpeggios and scales. So let's go ahead and enjoy the B part. We'll play it several times through. If you'd like to listen the first time, just make sure you've got it all sorted out and put together. If you feel confident, play along, and try playing along even if you're not feeling confident that you can get everything, because you can find certain benchmarks anywhere in this tune. You can look for that arpeggio, you can look for the A, you can look for the landing on the D notes at the end, you can look for a scale. And once you start finding those bits, it becomes easier to expand upon them and fill in the other parts of the tune. Some more practice on that B part. I'll give it to you, but I'd like to attach it to the A part. So let's remember how that went. How did it start? Yep, with that A pickup note. And remember the signature bars? Arpeggio, arpeggio, arpeggio. Right, running through the D, G, and A arpeggios. That's the signature of this tune. And if that reminded you how the A part goes, then good. Otherwise, listen, play along. We're going to play the A part and B part. Each part gets repeated, so there's plenty of opportunities to practice. We'll start slow. I'll gradually increase the tempo until we get to more of a morbid rant type of tempo. and that is Morpeth Rant. I hope you enjoyed learning that tune. That version is a commonly played session version of Morpeth Rant. And if you want to know more about Morpeth Rant, I've got a book here. In fact, I have a whole stack of books here. Some of the source materials. I mentioned Matt Seattle earlier. This is one of Matt Seattle's books. The whole book is called The Morpeth Rant. He's got historic photographs of musicians and places featured in this book. And he has not just the version that we learned, but I believe six different versions of the Morpeth Rant, because of its key position as one of these absolutely central Borders tunes. He's got other tunes that he considers to be, the real essential Border musicians, ones that should be in the Border musicians' wheelhouse. And I mentioned that we're going to be learning Ned Pearson's version. This is a photo of Ned Pearson. So when we get to the sheet music versions of tunes for today, we'll be learning his particular version of Morpeth Rant. All right, who is the composer of Morpeth Rant? Traditional. That's right. This is one of those traditional tunes. It does date back. Matt Seattle says that you can trace it back to at least 1770, and that's just in printed versions. That the tune may have existed well before it got written down and printed in a book. And it's also in various people's manuscript collections, which has proved to be a pretty fruitful place to look for not only unique versions of Borders tunes, but also just as a source of Borders music. And I'm going to show you the title page here. This is a Morpeth Rant book compiled by Matt Seattle, and his last name is spelled just like the city of Seattle. He is from the far north of England. Person of this Borders region, has spent a lot of time, and it's self-published by him. Dragonfly Music is his publishing house. And he's got a bunch of excellent books, some of which I drew from. He's quite interested in not just fiddle music, but bagpipe music. And here's two other Matt Seattle books that include music from the Borders. But honestly, it's not hard to find music from the Borders. Like I said, we've probably had hundreds of Borders tunes in Fiddle Club over the years, even though we've only featured it as a specific workshop on Borders tunes one other time. Are people up for another tune learned by ear, or are you just about full up? Give me some indication of that. And I'll tell you, while you're writing in the chat whether you're ready for another tune by ear, or if you would rather shift to sheet music now, I'm going to entertain you with something. I mentioned how the Borders families were kind of known for having their strongholds and raiding their neighbors and crossing the border and avoiding the law. And it got to be really, really, really bad. And this here is a multi-page official response to the problem of the border reivers raiding and causing trouble. Here's the introduction to it. I'll just say this dates from the early 1500s, around 1525, and it is the official response of the Archbishop of Glasgow, whose purview was the entire Borders region of Scotland. He knew that this situation had gotten completely out of hand. People were being killed, things were being stolen, it was chaos. And so the introduction from this historic source, which is George MacDonald Fraser's book, The Steel Bonnets, which is a good historic read if you're into that. The Archbishop of Glasgow, around the time of 1525, used his, or issued his justly celebrated monition of cursing, in which he excommunicated all the border thieves. It's a remarkable verbal blast running to over 1,500 words, and for sheer comprehensive power and variety, it places His Grace, the Archbishop of Glasgow, immediately among the great cursers of all time. So, I'll just read you a little excerpt. He starts out by saying what a problem it is and how bad these people is, and then he gets into the cursing. So, he says, yes, he even says, this is the great cursing. The spelling in this is really fun. I curse their head, and all the hairs of their head. I curse their face, their e'en, their mouth, their nose, their tongue, their teeth, their craig, their shoulders, their breast, their heart, their stomach, their back, their whim, their arms, their hands, their legs, their feet, and every ilk part of their body, from the top of their head to the sole of their feet, before and behind, within and without. I curse them ganging, I curse them riding, I curse them standing, I curse them sitting, I curse them eating, I curse them drinking, I curse them walking, I curse them sleeping, I curse them rising, and I curse them lying, I curse them at hame, and I curse them from hame, I curse them within the house, and I curse them without the house, I curse their wives, their bairns, their servants, I curse their corn, their cattle, their wool, their sheep, their horse, their swine, their geese, their hens, and all their quick good. I curse their halls, their chambers, their kitchens, their stunnels, their barns, their byres, their barnyards, and their kale yards, their ploughs, their harrows, their goods, their houses, and all that is necessary for their sustaining and welfare. All the malisons and warisons that ever get worldly creature, from the beginning of the world to this hour, might looked upon them. And that's just the beginning. It goes on and on and on, cursing the border reivers for their misdeeds. Like I said, that era ended when suddenly the national border no longer existed and the law could follow you, and then you got in trouble. So that effectively ended the reign of chaos on the borders, but it is definitely a place with a lively and interesting history, and that tends to give rise to some lively and interesting music. Now, I think that we should do one more tune, and I'm going to give you a bit of a choice here. We could do a slow tune. We could do a jig. Which would you like? Go ahead and write those in. Meanwhile, I will play for you the two tunes in question. Here's the jig. So that is the jig, and here's the air. Okay, well, while I was playing those two tunes, I had 3 votes for the jig and 1 for the air. So it's gonna be the jig. This jig is called Kelso Races, and let me find my picture collection here and show you a picture of Kelso. Yeah, here we go. So here is Kelso. This is the main square in Kelso. So Kelso is one of the border towns, and it's one of the places I have been. Actually, on my honeymoon, we spent some time in the Borders region of Scotland, and it's a lovely place. So I saw that very building in Kelso. So Kelso Races again, key of D. I hope you don't mind the key of D because we keep doing tunes in the key of D by ear today. This being our 3rd ear tune, I'm going to go through it a little quicker. And the pickup note is A. It's very much focused around the note D. Keep returning to D for this jig in the first part of it. So that's the first bar. Just find that. And I'm working the lilt in automatically, so it has, instead of being straight notes, it's so just a little slower. Second bar. So you keep going back to those double D notes. So let's put the first 2 bars together with the pickup note, which is A. Same as the first. 4th bar. This is new. This is where we get a little bit of a B minor feel. It's actually the B minor arpeggio that's happening here. F sharp, D, B. And it has a follow through, which is to continue on down. B, A, F sharp. So it covers the range from this F sharp to that one. All right, here's our 4-bar phrase. Listen. Let's play it again. And again with the pickup. All right, continuing on, the next phrase starts just the same. Now we reach the end of the phrase, a little more dramatic. G note. So we get up to that G note. add one more note. And the ending, last bar of the phrase, is the same as the other phrase ending, but clinging to the B. So our last two bars. All right, so that is our complete first half of the tune. Let me play the entire 8 bars put together for you. Remember, we're definitely hanging around the D note. We have our pickup note of A. We keep returning to the D note. First ending, follow through. High note, cling there. And that is the structure of this. Let's try it. I'll dial the speed back just a little bit so that it's easier to play along as you get used to the tune. And that is the first half. I'm going to give you the second half. The second half has a different rhythm to it. Once again, it's relying on a lot of repetition, but it's giving you a new theme. So this new theme, pickup note is now a B. We were just, by the way, we landed on that B, right? And we continue on with a B pickup note. And we're back in the land of D arpeggios. A, F sharp, A. Let's just play that little. So here is the beginning of the B part. B pickup note. Next bar is the same. Next bar is the same. The pickup note to the end of phrase bar. D, so that we know we're going somewhere different for a change, right? We just had 3 bars that were the same. And then our ending of the phrase is that B minor thing, just as it was in the A part. So let's pattern it out here. The B part, this little repeated phrase with a B pickup note. Second time. Third time. End of phrase. Let's play that 4-bar phrase. And again. So that's 4 bars of the B part. Next 4 bars. We just had. So it's a D pickup note this time. Our old friend. And repeat that. D pickup note, and now we're doing something unique. minor, B minor arpeggio. So the last two bars with their pickup note. Again. 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 All right, so here is the B part. A lot of repetition with our signature phrase for the B part. The B part. We put the whole tune together now. Kelso races. A part, 8 bars long. B part, 8 bars long. Each part gets repeated typically. So I hope you liked that one. And we're going to move on now to learning music from the sheet music. And if you did not have a chance, you probably would be well advised to go to the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club webpage, potomacvalleyscottishfiddle.org, where you can find the link to print out the pages of music. We're in book 28, pages 24 through 28 today for today's workshop. And if you find that you can't find that link and you can't print it out, perhaps you can find it in the members section, which you can access by joining the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club. It's really easy to do from our webpage. And Pete has just posted that webpage in and that link in the chat so that you can more easily find it. And members, you can download this music even after the fact of the workshop. And you can, in fact, print out all of our current year's music if you're a member. Now, that brings me to an announcement that I need to be making, which is that unfortunately, our printout method was not very good at keeping track of who has printed sheet music and who has not. If you do not have any of the months of music and you're having trouble either printing them out or locating them, or for some reason you really, really want to receive a paper copy in the mail, what I would like you to do is send a message to info@pvsfc.org. This is our information email address, and send your name and specifically which pages you need to have mailed to you. You need to say, I do not have pages 1 through 12, pages 17 through 23, whatever it is that the pages that you're missing, because our current method that we had in place to try to catch who had been printing music unfortunately did not work as planned, and we are missing our list of who has printed music. Normally we would be mailing you your sheet music around this time, and that's not going to happen this time. If you're in need of music, get in touch and we can remedy that. I'm also going to mention that a lot of the old music books are also available for members. So if you're thinking, well, gosh, I wish I had book 24, or I wish I had book 1, you can find them in our members' Webstore. And they are available as a download printout for members. We cannot make them available to the general public for copyright reasons. So if you want access to this treasure trove of tunes, I advise joining our Fiddle Club. It's worth the price of membership alone. And I have been working in these past months on putting more and more of the Fiddle Club books in electronic form. I've done about 8 of them in the last 2 or 3 months. And eventually Pete will catch up to me and post. I will send them to him and he'll post them in the members section for download, making more and more of these past books available for everybody. All right, well, let's go to the sheet music. And right at the beginning of page 24, we have Morpeth Rant, the version that we learned that I told you was more of a commonly circulating session version. And then I told you about Ned Pearson and how Morpeth Rant is featured in this particular book of Matt Seattle. And I did show you the picture of Ned Pearson, but there we go. This is the fiddler whose version we're going to learn now. And that's a picture from 1954. So, this is not somebody we could go and hear play right now. But Matt Seattle has Ned Pearson's version. He has a version from a very old source, 1816. He has one as played by Peter Robson, one as played by Billy Pigg, a legendary small piper, another one as played by William Hawken, and another one as played by Stephen Baldwin. So he's really checked out a variety of major players over the years. So some of those are modern and some of them are quite old versions. All right, so Ned Pearson's version of the Morpeth Rant. And you'll notice the signature bars that I pointed out when we were learning this by ear are completely intact. Some of the things that have changed are what I would call more decorative elements, and there are a couple of spots where Ned Pearson has put his own individual stamp on this tune. All right, so let's play this. Let's start slow and warm up those high position notes. You can always play the D an octave down if you don't wish to switch to high position. Ned Pearson's version of Morpeth Rant. Well, let's move along. On page 25, we have a tune called Roxborough Castle. And this is another one on Matt Seattle's short list of tunes that are essential to your Scottish borders experience. And let's see, where did I put the picture? Here it is. So this is a picture of Roxborough Castle. Oh, let's get in the right orientation. As you can see, it's currently in ruins, but back in the day, it was a stronghold, and it was one of the what am I saying? It was one of the royal strongholds on the borders, and one of the places from which the King of Scotland tried to exert some influence over the border reavers. And this could be considered a hornpipe. Some people do consider it a hornpipe, but it's very much in the same mode as Morpeth Rant. So I think it's more of a rant type of reel, but it does have that bump, bump, bump at the end of the phrases. Here's how it goes. All right, so that is Roxborough Castle, and let's play it slowly to start. and that's Roxborough Castle. Well, the next tune on the page is a Lament for Lockerbie, and depending on what era you're from, what your own vintage is, you may know more or less about this. So Lockerbie is in the Scottish Borders area, and it's the site of a tragic event in 1988. A large airplane that was on a transatlantic flight exploded over Lockerbie. There was a bomb in it, and the plane plummeted down to the ground in Lockerbie. It was a transatlantic flight. It was fairly full. There were a lot of people on the plane, and the plane also killed a bunch of people on the ground. So, in response to this, Angus Fitchett, we've heard a number of his tunes before. He's famous as a dance musician, but he wrote a lament for Lockerbie. I want to show you. This is the Lockerbie Memorial Gardens, as a memorial to that event. This is the town of Lockerbie in the snow. So let me play this tune for you. And I was supposed to have brought the harmony part here over to my music stand, and I apparently didn't. So we'll save that for the jam. Here's the tune. I'll try. All right. I'm going to mention a couple of news things. So that was Lament for Lockerbie. by Angus Fitchett. I'm going to mention a couple of things for our news. Normally, some of these things would either be in the newsletter or announced at a meeting. So let me pull this up. So I received a message from Amanda Muir. She's putting on a series of workshops called the Orpheus Workshop Series. And Scott Morrison is going to be teaching a Boron workshop. And this is an online event. So I will put the link that she's sent for information in our notes, in our chat notes here, and I'll try to have that sent out. There's another thing that I wanted to let you all know about. Some of you have heard of an event called Fiddle Hell. It is a big fiddle workshop for all kinds of styles of fiddling, and it's usually in November. It was held in November online this year, and in addition, they are having a spring version of this online fiddle event the weekend of April 17th. So I'm involved in it. I'm going to be doing an event on the 17th. I think it's at maybe 4 o'clock. Don't quote me on that. There's a schedule. But look up Fiddle Hell. Yes, it's like it sounds. And find out more information by going to their webpage. I will also try to get a webpage link for that in the chat before the very end of this. But for now, let's go ahead and go to the next tune. On page 26, I did not want to finish a workshop on the Borders without doing a classic Borders ballad, because that is a big deal in Borders music. And this one is called, there were so many choices, and this particular book, Northumbrian Minstrelsy, not only has dance tunes, such as some of the ones we've been learning, it has a sizable section, probably the first 2/3 of the book, of border ballads. Border ballads are a real essential element of Borders music. Big, long singing tradition. Lay the bent to the bonny broom. So here is a broom-covered hillside in the Borders region. And those yellow flowers are just characteristic. It's, golden yellow, and it's very, very striking. Now this tune, Lay the Bent to the Bonny Broom, is one of those classic ballad forms where it has a refrain that keeps, as the narrative of the ballad gradually progresses by adding new lines, you keep hearing this refrain. So this one is, there was a lady in the north country, lay the bent to the bonny broom, and she had lovely daughters 3, fa la 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 re. Right, and so lay the bent to the bonny broom gets repeated with every single verse. It goes on many, many verses. But it really has very little to do with the bonny broom, and it even has very little to do with the daughters 3. There's always 3 in these ballads, by the way. It's just so that it can have the first one do X, and the second one does Y, and then the third one is the main character. This is also another classic ballad form of being a question song. So, a knight comes up to the household where the 3 daughters live, and he asks the third one, after going through the first and the second one, asks the third one questions 3, except it turns out he actually asked her 6 questions, but we're going to just, kind of ride right over that. And so he asks these riddle questions of her. She answers them and proves how smart and witty she is, and, lay the bent to the bonny broom, fa la 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 re. So here's the melody. I'd still be playing, in about 15 minutes. Let's play this. All right. I don't think I need to slow it down that much because it's already quite slow. It takes a breath with every phrase, so don't rush your way through it. So that is Lay the Bent to the Bonny Broom, a melody of a classic Scottish border ballad. And speaking of classic and old, the next tune on the page, the Sutters of Selkirk, is one of those genuinely old tunes that has been around for a good long time. You can find versions of this many places, and I have adapted it from the Adam Craig collection. This is the Adam Craig collection. You can tell by the style of the printing here that this is a very old one. This dates from, I think Adam Craig is from something like 1727. It's one of the earliest printed collections of Scottish music, and it includes the Sutters of Selkirk, which is printed out on 2 pages like this. So aren't you glad that I rewrote it for you? It's also in a funky rhythm, 3/4, but it's actually a tune that is more of a slip jig, and we're used to seeing slip jigs in 9/8, so I recast it in 9/8. I also tried to straighten out a few of the oddities that are introduced in this Adam Craig version. It was very much the thing in his time to write tunes with variations. This was the hot thing, and all of the collections of the early 1700s are tunes with variations. Sometimes the variations are amazing, profound. Sometimes they are really silly. This one is a bit of a mix. The first 4 sections of the tune are what I would consider to be sort of classic Scottish variation, theme and variation type of development. And then the last one, Matt Seattle wrote in his version of this particular tune, which is different, by the way. He wrote that Adam Craig's final strain is fanciful. And I think that's maybe a good term. It's clearly, more of like and the coda, it's not integral to the tune. So if you want to play this tune just as the Sutters of Selkirk, play the first 4. If you want to finish with a flourish, play the last, the 5th line of it. And I'm going to show you a picture of Selkirk. So let's find Selkirk. Yeah, so here's a street in Selkirk. And a sutter is a shoemaker. So for reasons that are a little bit obscure to me, there's certainly some deep history behind this, but Sutters of Selkirk is kind of like the thing of the town. It's like Cornhuskers from Nebraska or Buckeyes from Ohio. It's Sutters from Selkirk. And there are historical things that, talk about a group of 50 Sutters from Selkirk, and you kind of know, did this town of this size really have 50 shoemakers? I don't think so. But it's kind of like their town theme or mascot. So, if you're from Selkirk, you're a Sutter, whether or not you actually do make shoes. All right. Now, this is a slip jig, but it is a very fancy slip jig with variations. So no way am I going to play it at a typical slip jig pace. So I have to find my rhythm so that it's going to be at a reasonable pace for me to actually get through all the fancy stuff in this tune. All right, here we go. I'll play it for you. So that last strain, that was the Adam Craig grand finale flourish, and if you were listening, it didn't really follow the pattern of the rest of the tune. So I kind of agree with Matt Seattle's assessment. All right, let's check this out. There's one printing oddity in it, in that the beginning pickup note is a G, but when you repeat that strain, it makes more sense to play an A as the pickup note. So I've written a 1 and a 2 next to the, 1 next to the G note, 2 next to the A note to indicate to you that on the second time you're using that different pickup note. So that is one printing oddity of this tune. Otherwise, I've pretty much gotten rid of all the odd things that are, sort of unusual to modern music reading. Let's take it slow. option of repeating it, because once you do that final thing, it's just such a finale that you cannot do it over again. So if we want to do it over again, we've got to maybe leave that section off until the very last time. I think let's just play it one more time through at a not super fast, but somewhat brisker pace. And we'll go ahead and do the Adam Craig ending, and then we'll leave it at that. I'll let you explore it on your own. It's really a tour de force type of tune. This is kind of the thing that really only the great performers of the past would have used this as a bit of a showpiece. So let's play it at a moderately upbeat type of tempo. So that is the Sutters of Selkirk, definitely a Borders classic. On page 27, we already learned Rolling Hills of the Borders and Kelso Races. So let's go ahead and do the Randy Wife of Greenlaw. And I have given you Buddy McMaster's version, and that's not because he's from the Borders, it's just because it is the coolest version of this tune that I know. And so, oh, by the way, I forgot to show you this. This is another site in Kelso. So back when we were having Kelso races, this is a ruined abbey in Kelso. And this here is the village of Greenlaw. So the Randy Wife of Greenlaw, it just means a woman from Greenlaw. So, and I'm not going to express any opinion about this woman from Greenlaw. Let me play the tune for you. This one, starting slow. All right, that's the Rainy Wife of Greenlaw. And on our last page, what do we have here? Sour Plums of Gala. This is another tune of the same era as Sutters of Selkirk. It's so very old, at least dating to the early years of the 18th century. In this case, I've taken the version from David Johnson's 18th century collection. David Johnson was a 20th century Scottish music scholar. He focused on the 18th century. This book, there's another paperback edition of it with a different cover. This is just a really splendid sampling of, different 18th century pieces, both short forms and longer forms, and some scholarly discussion of those pieces and their sources. Really nice book. He was a really fine scholar. So Sour Plums of Gala. I've got a picture of Gala here. Let's find Gala. I know it's here somewhere. Oh, here we go. So here's a picture of Gala. So this particular workshop this month is a real geographic tour of the borders, as well as I wanted it to be comprehensive in that it would have some very old and very new tunes as well, so you can get an idea of the continuity of the tradition. This is a really rich area of Scotland for music, and like I said, it's a little bit neglected in the enthusiasm for the Highlands or for more mainstream things in the cities in Edinburgh and the Northeast and such. So it's not an area of Scotland that gets explored a whole lot, but what a rich musical tradition. All right, Sour Plums of Gala. Not quite as fancy as that Sutters of Selkirk, but it's also a slow tune, so very manageable. People like James Oswald, who we've featured his music before. He has a version of Sour Plums with a cello line and variations and transformed into real time and all sorts of things. This is a much simpler version, and it comes from a manuscript that I hope to explore sometime in the future called the Gillespie manuscript, which is just this absolutely lovely book, a handwritten book of Scottish tunes from I think it's mid to late 18th century Scotland. The tune was definitely pre-existing. It's found in a whole lot of early 1700s collections. Oh, it's a lovely tune. Okay, the question's been asked. What's the meaning of Sour Plums of Gala? That story is lost. You know there's a story there. I do not know the story. Um, so is sour plum some kind of oblique way of referring to some people there, or are they talking about literal plums? They do grow fruit in the borders, and plums would be one of the fruits that's grown. So maybe there are these unique plums in Gala Shields, literally, that are sour. And I'll just point out, sour plums often make the best jam, and the British are definitely into plum jam. So, or is it metaphoric? I don't know. Must be a story, though. Anyway, if any of you ever do find out the secret, what is the story behind sour plums of Gala Shields? Love to know it. Let's play this tune. We don't have to really slow it down because it is slow, but let's play it a couple times through. I got lost in there. Let's start at the B part. Okay, so I got distracted by a bunch of messages coming up in the chat from Pete. So Pete has done some research while I was playing away here and answers our question about the sour plum. So a sour plum is a sharp flavored, round, green, boiled sweet, originally associated with Gala Shields, Scotland. So boiled sweet translates as hard candy. They're sold loose by weight in paper bags in quarters of a pound, said to have first been made in 1337 in commemoration of a skirmish near Gala Shields. Okay. A raiding party from England were overwhelmed. You know, this goes right back to that border history I was telling you about the border reavers, raiders coming from England over the border into Scotland and vice versa. So a raiding party from England were overwhelmed and killed by local men when discovered eating unripe plums. I told you there were plum orchards. And you can order them online, Pete says. I hope that doesn't mean you can order a raiding party online. Looks like you can order the sweets online if you're willing to take the trouble. So, actual plums were involved in the history of this tune, as well as people and metaphorical plums in the form of hard candy. All right, so that's Sour Plums of Gala Shields, already an old story by the time this tune was written down in the Gillespie manuscript in the 1700s, since the raiding party was in 1337. It just tells you that there really is a very, very long history, and we might not know the earliest source of these tunes, but some of these tunes go back quite a bit further than our original written sources can document for us. The last tune printed today on our page 28 is Carlisle Lasses. This is a Strathspey that's current. People play this one. I hear it at dances a fair amount. It's really popular with accordion players and accordion dance bands. And Carlisle is on the English side of the border. Let me show you a picture of Carlisle, as opposed to some of these other places like Greenlaw and Kelso. This is a fairly big city. So here's a photo from Carlisle. And let me play you Carlisle Lasses. Carlisle Lasses, also known as the Lass of Corry Mill. I haven't looked to see if I can locate where Corry Mill is, but I would presume it's somewhere around Carlisle. So that's our tunes. Did we get enough time to play Carlisle Lasses? You all want to play that one more time? Let's go ahead and do that one more time. By ear tunes. We started off today with the Rolling Hills of the Borders. our third by ear tune, Kelso Races. And the Morpeth Red. So that is our musical tour of the Borders region of Scotland, and I hope you have enjoyed that. I'm going to not close out this live stream just yet because I need to add into the chat a couple of the references for the Bowron workshop next week that I told you about, and the fiddle workshop in April, the Fiddle Hell online fiddle weekend. And I think I'll make sure that I get those up before I close out the live chat. But thank you for joining me this afternoon, and see you later tonight at 6:30 for our jam session. You'll find a Zoom link in an email sent to you with your from our member mailing list. You can join via Zoom or via YouTube. And I hope to see you at the jam this evening. All right. Take care. Thank you. And I'm just going to add in those links.